I'm now joined by world-renowned Nicky Scully, who just finished up her workshop here at the Synthesis 2012, and it really is an honor to finally meet you because a mutual friend has been talking so highly of you, and the work you're doing has just reached the world all over with all your books, and it's really an honor to have you here. But tell us about the workshop that you did and how that was.
The workshop that I just came out of? Well, we did some work with the Anubis Oracle. One of the things I'm trying to do is connect with the group, the convergence that's happening in Egypt now, so that, and with all of the other festivals. And so it was just amazing how the cards reflected exactly what's happening here, and how out of the chaos of this time, great things are being born. It's kind of like being in labor and experience the birth. And then we did a visioning of what the earth, what the new world will be, realizing that whether you're asleep at the wheel or whether you know what's going on, you're part of the collective mind that is always creating the future. And so the more that people wake up to that, every word they say, every thought, every action is part of the direction of the future of all humans and this planet. So as we wake up to that, and that's why this is such an incredible opportunity, all these gatherings, and at one time so many minds focused, that we can use the exponential power of our minds to create the love and the intention that's required to make real changes. Changes in our DNA, changes in our wiring, allowing new frequencies in and taking them out into the world simply by being and by remembering.
Yes, and science, talks about and proves a lot of this, about our DNA is changing and a lot of the stuff you're talking about. So it's really good to see that in the mainstream. Not so much, but science is just with quantum physics, quantum mechanics. They're showing the observer, theory and things like that are actually proving that we are one collective. We are all together as one unified force.
I work a lot with my dear friend Bruce Lipton, from whom I've learned a tremendous amount about cell biology and how it works, and how we actually can repair and change our DNA. And when he and I went to Egypt, he was able to do the scientific explanation of the shamanic work that I was doing, so that everybody would feel comfortable to dive deeply and make real change inside themselves, and hopefully for the planet. We just have to remember that there may be 200 trillion cells in our body, and that's a community. And there may be however many billions of us there are on that planet, and it's a community. And until we get it together to live harmoniously, there's no way that we can fully realize the dream that's been held for us. And I think that festivals like this all the time are really useful, but at this time, it's magnified exponentially.
And when you talk about events, there was over 850 events around the world that were synced in with the birth and the Giza temples. I know a friend of mine, Adam Apollo, was out there, and he did ceremony in the King's Chambers before December 21st. They had special access. It's just amazing times to be in, to be part of something so epic and historic. We're in the Mayan land here, and the energy. And your newest book here, Planetary Healing, Spirit Medicine for Global Transformation, so needed at a time like this. Tell the listeners what this book is about and what they can expect to find by reading this book and to discover.
Well, interestingly enough, it started with Jose Arguelles' first date, the harmonic convergence, because I went out and prayed in ceremony for tools for my advanced students to help heal the planet, things that they can do for harmonic convergence. And here 25 years later, the book that started with that is published and happening, so that those tools and the consequent tools that have come in the last 25 years are available for people to use during these changes times.
And you've been a shamanic mystery school teacher for many years. You've done about 50, 60 trips to Egypt, you were saying before.
Yes, I've led it.
And
many,
you know, this is ancient knowledge, ancient history that is just really being revealed to the world because of things like radio and social media. It's so good to get this stuff out there on networks like that. How have you seen the change over the last 20, 30 years?
In Egypt?
Or in general, with just topics like this being discussed so freely.
Right. That's an interesting question, because shamanism is not really fully understood. It's become a common word that's bandied about for some very serious between the worlds work that people who train and are born into it, or you know, in the indigenous cultures, recognized and taught from a really young age, and who go through incredible initiations. I mean, the word itself is Siberian, and the Siberian shamans, from which the word comes from, were of a tribe that a person would go insane, and that would be the recognition that that person was to be a shaman. And if they didn't answer the call and say yes and commit to it, they would stay crazy. But if they committed to it, then they would be empowered and would become the healers for that community.
It's so interesting you said that, because that's what I understand. It was in the villages that the kids that were not the ones that would sit in school, the kids that were crazy outside the box were actually the ones, the impulsive ones that they would take in to be the shamans. Like myself, I'm always impulsive and didn't really like school, and was just always like, the system never resonated with me. I knew there was something greater, and it's so amazing to hear you see that, because people think that the shamans are like these people that are just regular people, but it's really the people that are a little bit thinking outside the box, that really have that flow in them.
I agree with you, and our culture has no place for shamans. So what's happened to some people in this culture is they are so different, and then they are called in ways they don't understand. And often they wind up in insane asylums because people don't get it. But if you're lucky enough to survive being that different and find the path, then you're become one of the way showers for this culture. But what I've seen in the last 30 years or so is that more and more people are becoming clairvoyant. There's more and more sensitive people coming onto the planet that are naturally there and are as comfortable living in two worlds as shamans are. And they need direction and they need help. So that's one of the things that I do, is teach healing, and I find that the people that come to me have a more shamanic bent. But my healing work is called alchemical healing, and there is a book of that name. There's a trilogy, and it's part of the planetary healing trilogy.
Excellent. Well, like you said, these festivals with the intention are so powerful, and there's been so many just the last few years that have popped up all over the world. Huge festivals like Burning Man, where they're showing a new way of living, where they're being sustained, living in harmony, a gift economy, these new concepts that have really been just hidden from us or kept secret, because they don't want the people to know there is another way.
Well, I think what happened in the 60s has something to do with that, because we had something really beautiful, really pure and beautiful in the Bay Area, which is where I was at that time.
Nice.
And then it became exploited and corrupted. And the bad drugs came in and it got spoiled. So now people are more careful. They go off in communities and create communities off the grid, and they're working on sustainable living. And it's
That's
becoming more and more widely known because as the people learn and grow, they bring it out in the world and share it. I mean, I think the largest consciousness gathering in this country is, I can't remember what it's called, but it happens every summer in Marin County, and it's about...
Coachella?
No, it's not a music festival. It's about living sustainably. I'm sorry, it's not on the top of my mind right now, but it's, you know, thousands and thousands of people. And then, of course, in Oregon, where I live, we have the Oregon Country Fair, which we hold as a microcosm of, if we can do it, you know, live in that orientation and in that field of love for a week, or some people a month. And the festival only happens for 3 days, but we are exemplars to the world for how community can live in joy and in creativity.
Absolutely. And that's definitely something that's been lost. I was saying before, like when I grew up, I don't even know any of my neighbors the last 20 years. You know, my parents used to talk, they used to have block parties and they would know their neighbors. We've lost that sense of community. Absolutely. What do you see in 2013? I mean, here we are, December 23rd, the world didn't end, and there's lots of new things emerging and new energies. What do you see happening in 2013? Do you see people really?
What I'm hoping and what I think can happen, if enough people really gathered and put their focus into it, that internal changes will happen that will come out more over time. I think that the solutions to our problems on the planet can't come from the mindset that created them, as Einstein said. So we're building a new mindset, and we've done great strides with these dates, you know, in this window, to change people's minds and to open pathways so that there are new ways of getting information, that we can actually become more intelligent. And that's really what the Planetary Healing book leads up to. How we can see what's coming and change it, and do it in an ethical and moral, life-sustaining, uplifting, spiritual way, which is now, as you said, joining science. And I'm finding it a fascinating, wonderful time to be alive. And
absolutely.
The mix of cultures and the mix of alchemists like me and scientists like Bruce are bringing a whole new awareness to a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And I'm seeing a change coming. We can't sustain what's happening. So.
And tell us about some of the things you'll be doing in 2013. I know you do a lot of workshops and traveling. Do you have any big projects or books you're working on for 2013?
Well, I am working on another Egyptian Mysteries book with Normandy Ellis. I'm also working on gaining the technology so that I can, because I'm, you know, I'll be 70 in 2013. So I want to be able to reach the world from the comfort of my home. And so I'm, one of my dear friends is one of the main experts in education through the school systems and all the highest level ways of teaching through computers. And so she's going to spend a month with me.
Wow.
And we're going to see if we can set up a school that way. And then, of course, I'm going to Egypt a couple of times.
Of course. And Egypt, the residents there, how do you feel when you go there? You obviously, I mean, do you feel a big shift when you get off the plane and you're around those temples?
Oh, yeah. When I first went in 1978 with the Grateful Dead, it was like nothing I could have imagined.
Wow.
I mean, the first thing was back then, so that was 1978, getting off a plane and seeing people with machine guns. You know, it's like, whoa, what's this like? And then come to know, at that time, they were really your friends. And we'd go hang out with the guards up behind the pyramids and,
nice,
you know, play and have fun. They
well,
let
you're
us
with the
do
Grateful
anything.
Dead, so who knows?
Well, but I've been going ever since. I mean, I was so enthralled, I was back 3 weeks later.
Wow.
And then it's so I kiss the ground and offer prayers of gratitude every time I get there.
Wow.
And the people are so warm and so friendly, and now it's going through real changes. So I've been through 9/11 there, through all the wars and uprisings, and had people on the ground, and now I just came back from there, and it was still fine, but there's a lot of confusion there, and it could go either way. So I'm just wanting to take people as long as I can so that they can have that experience.
Absolutely. I actually have a pinch of sand from the Giza Temple given by your good friend Linda Starwolf. So thank you
On
for
the
that.
trip she was with me.
Yes, that's right. That's right. She had just gotten back about a year ago. So excellent. Well, thank you, Nicky, so much for taking the time and coming on the show. And give out your website where people can find out more information.
It would be either nickyscully.com or it's mostly known as shamanicjourneys.com. And then there's websites that you can click to from there, the anubisoracle.com, and get a free reading, or you can go to Becoming an Oracle and get an Egyptian Mysteries Journey. Or there's all kinds
Excellent.
of information.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming to Synthesis 2012 and being in the land of the Maya, just 1 mile from Chichen Itza. It's such an honor to be here. And thank you again for coming on the air.
My pleasure.
Excellent.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.